Hi, I'm Greg Crawford with the Friday News Dump, brought to you by World News Trust. There are many old adages that describe the phenomenon of being too close to something to be able to take it all in at once, or to even see what it truly is. Can't see the forest for the trees is one. And then there's the fable of the blind men and the elephant, where they each touch a different part of it and then try and make a judgment about what it is based on their limited information. And they're all wrong. Or there's the story of the country whose government and media feed the people such a pack of lies about things that are really important that they either don't know they're being deceived or don't want to know, because then it would mean they'd have to do something about it. Oh, wait, that's not a story. That's us. This is the age of information, and that can be a good thing, except when the information, at least that provided by government-approved sources, is nothing but lies and distortions, and there's so much of it that we can't possibly process it all or make an informed decision, both because of the volume and the questionable veracity. And when a little bit of truth does dribble out, the journalist that does the dribbling finds him or herself in a truly terrifying kangaroo court from which there is no hope of escape. Or an investigative journalist named Michael Hastings, whose friends and family say he drove like an old lady, piles his car into a tree at such an ungodly rate of speed that the engine is thrown 200 feet from the car. And it's called an accident. But then the German car manufacturer says, "Oh, sorry guys, but we designed a very expensive automobile, so that can't happen." The car's carefully engineered crumple zone ensures that the engine always slides down under the car in the event of a head-on collision. Oops. Then further investigation hints darkly, see what happens when you expose the perfidy of a renegade general who commanded a unit that was dedicated to lethal black ops? And then there are the hundreds of stories every goddamn day about the uncontrolled savagery of police forces around the country. Shooting deaf people who can't hear their commands, shooting children with toy guns, shooting elderly men having seizures in their own homes, shooting mentally challenged people that can't understand what they're saying. Shooting the family dog just for the fun of it. Shooting a misdemeanor suspect who has already been searched for a weapon, by the way, while he's sitting in a cruiser with his hands cuffed behind him, and then calling it a suicide. And then there's New York City, where people of color take their lives in their hands if they so much as ask to see something that some malignant bigot of a sales clerk thinks is too expensive for them to want, let alone buy. Or the fact that more blacks have been the victims of the stop and frisk law than there are black people in all 5 boroughs. New Yorkers had better be thankful that Michael Bloomberg, that evil little bastard, is soon going to be gone. Sadly, his influence may not be. Just last week, an obviously corrupt Court of Appeals reversed a lower court decision that declared stop and frisk to be blatantly unconstitutional and ordered federal oversight of its selective application. Oh, but they weren't finished. Then the appeals court removed the judge from the case and reprimanded her for some trumped-up breach of protocol by talking about the case publicly. A word to the wise. The Fourth Amendment doesn't mean shit to Bloomberg's private army of psychotic thugs. Amendments, hell, they use the entire Constitution for toilet paper. But as obscene as all those examples are, they are a minuscule fraction of the infringements on civil rights that Americans suffer every day. The object lesson that our government wants us to draw from such horror stories is this. Step out of line in any way, shape, or form, and the same thing might happen to you. And we're not going to tell you where the line is or when you've stepped out of it, but you'll probably be able to tell from your sucking chest wound. Such uncertainty does wonders when it comes to keeping we, the great unwashed, from asking too many questions. Moving on. It is now illegal for someone to expose the crimes of livestock abuse that industrial farm operations would prefer were not revealed. Yes, you heard that right. It is now a crime to report a crime. It is also a crime to try and convince any organization on the terrorism watch list to try more peaceful means of resolving their differences with American foreign policy. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, try and make sense of that one. I dare you. That one helps to keep lawyers who still have a remnant of conscience from getting uppity. And, of course, there are the rapacious depredations of Monsanto, Nestle, Koch Industries, United Water, Halliburton, KBR, all of Wall Street, and a host of other ne'er-do-wells too numerous to mention. Christ, Monsanto actually tried to make it illegal to criticize them. I'm not making this up. They haven't succeeded yet, But they threaten to sue any state that enacts right-to-know laws that require food products containing GMOs to be labeled accordingly. So the government can't prosecute for someone for sedition, but a corporation can. Oh, and Monsanto just bought themselves an award for contributions to agriculture. Please. That sanctioning body's credibility just went down the toilet. So move over, Nobel Peace Prize judges. And of course, the pachyderm in the parlor is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. If there are still any starry-eyed idealists foolish enough to believe that the sun shines out of Mr. Obama's nether portal, a few facts about this monstrosity will disabuse them of that notion once and for all. More on that subject next week. I could say that a pattern is beginning to emerge, but really, it's been staring us in the face for years. Big Brother is watching. We live in a particularly vicious police state. But the police don't protect and serve ordinary Americans. They protect the malevolent oligarchs that really run this country, and they serve as their leg breakers and hitmen as whimsy dictates. So we really should stop singing about the land of the free and the home of the brave. The only people that are free are the filthy rich corporatists who are above the law because they write the laws, and the only brave ones are the investigative reporters who risk their lives not in foreign war zones, but in their own country, when they do their jobs by exposing the multitude of ways the corporatists deceive, rob, and exploit us. But then again, we're in the middle of a class war, so I suppose you could say this is a war zone. Here's the bottom line. The people we elect to represent our interests are more concerned with their own interests, and they waste no time in sucking up to our corporate overlords to further those interests. They all get rich, and we're left out in the cold.